Pick me girl, not like other girls. Tomato girl, vanilla girl. Girl's girl, not a girl's girl. Horse girl, boy girl, girl girl. You know when you say a word so many times that it stops sounding like a word? So let's try it right now. Picking. Say it with me everybody. Picking, 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 picking. Actually, it still kind of does sound like a word, but you get what I mean, don't you? It does happen. You know it, I know it. Don't argue with me. You better listen to me because I'm definitely an authority on this topic because I know at least 100 words in one language. So, yeah. Are you a woman who wears makeup? Pick me. Are you a woman who doesn't wear makeup? Pick me. Are you a woman who's mean to women? Pick me. Are you a woman who's suspiciously nice to women? Pick me. But really, ladies, please, pick me. I can neither swim nor drive, but I make a swell day, I promise. Oh, since we're meeting, I better introduce myself. My name is Sara, and this is the only channel on YouTube where all videos are written and produced by a cow. She couldn't be in the video today because she's actually at a bovine auction trying to get picked herself. But if you like and subscribe, she might appear in the... Oh God. Oh, phew. Okay, she's okay. We just misunderstood what a bovine auction was. Whew, that was a close call. I thought it was, like a bachelorette auction. I'll never make that mistake again. So, for those who have just tuned in and are thinking, pick what? A pick-me girl is a term used to describe a woman who puts down other women for male approval. At least, that's my simplified definition. And if you're thinking, wow, this Chara Mukni person is way behind the discourse, bite your tongue. I've already made a video on this. In fact, 2, during the heyday of the pick-me discourse. I listened to this band before it was cool. So here's a rundown of the video where I was growing out a buzz cut and I didn't know how to apply acrylics. I owe that first pick me video essay my YouTube career basically. When I uploaded it, I had 300 subscriptions. I then took down the video due to various mistakes, factual errors, And these things started to matter because I suddenly had a platform, which was whoa. I then re-uploaded it in December 2020, so just a few months later. But it still is my most viewed video to this day. I stand by a fair chunk of the things I say in it, but that video has always caused a lot of internal conflict for me, which is why I took it down for so long. I wasn't sure if I wanted it to represent myself, and my content. Especially because it's the first videos you see if you go by most popular. But I've decided to put it back up again recently because it's an important part of my career and, transparency and growth and yada yada yada. With all that in mind, I think it's important to, a few years down the line, make an update video because, a lot has happened since. And the phrase pick me and mine and many people's relationship with the phrase pick me has changed. For starters, it was a phrase that originated in African American communities. But the internet did its thing, and now it is ubiquitous. And having edited most of this video already, if you need a drinking game, just drink every time I say ubiquitous in this video, and I promise you will get very happily tipsy. Unless you're underage, then don't do it. But yeah, today's tale is going to be about a phrase that originated as a term to call out internalized misogyny, but then devolved into its own Frankenstein's monster where it has now become a tool and a weapon to aid misogyny. Arguably, one would argue. So, how did this happen? It's a mystery. Actually, it isn't. I'm about to explain it, but I do love me a mystery. I'll keep this brief because I already have 2 videos on the pick me discourse. But here's a Cliff Notes summary. The term stems from BVE/AAVE, Black Vernacular English/African American Vernacular English, and gained online notoriety when it trended on Twitter in 2016 with the hashtag #TweetLikeAPickMe, where Black Twitter users tweeted satirical posts impersonating the caricature of a pick-me. Its use then expanded across YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, you name it, and to those unaware of its origins. Some misguidedly believe that it is a Gen Z/TikTok phrase. A pick-me puts down other women in pursuit of being picked by men, whether it's romantically or for general male validation. She wants to be picked over other girls, whether it's being the love interest, the guy's best female friend, or hanging with the boys when no other girl is invited. She's not like other girls. She might refer to how she doesn't feel the need to wear makeup, how low maintenance she is, how she's one of the boys, how she doesn't hang out with other girls because she doesn't like the drama. If she's in a relationship, she might be superior to other girlfriends by going above and beyond what is required of girlfriend duties, basically by waiting on him hand and foot, and prioritizing his needs over her own. If a woman says or does these things, she might well be a pick-me, or at the very least, dealing with some internalized misogyny. She uses the phrase real women, red flag. She slut-shames other women and places herself as the Madonna against the whores. Boy mums are massively pick-me, and if you aren't familiar what a boy mum is, it's a mother of a son who has a Freudian obsession with her son. My heart goes out to their daughters, if they have any. She might downplay women's struggles in order to score points with men. You know, saying really just silly claims like, periods aren't even that painful, I just pop an ibuprofen and I'm good to go. Maybe women shouldn't be allowed to vote, and I'm saying that as a woman, fellas. She also might actively partake in rape culture, whether it's victim blaming individuals or making blanket statements about women who accuse men of SA. This term has at this point become ubiquitous. You'll see it all over YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, publications, hell, even psychologists have studied the phenomenon. But its use has strayed far from the original meaning and its original intention, and well, it's a mess. And someone needs to tidy it up. Women, get thee to the kitchen. There was a time and a place for the pick-me label. There were/are women who actively put down other women, whether it's women as an amorphous demographic or targeting individual women. There are women who hurt women's causes and want to take away rights that other women benefit from or even survive off of.
I think of women back then not being able to vote and having the whole one house, one vote thing. Why would you marry a man who wouldn't vote in your best interest or you wouldn't agree with politically to begin with?
Teehee. They're not like the other girls. They're so low maintenance, they don't even need rights.
The label didn't come from nowhere. It's touching on a very real phenomenon and demonstrates how internalized misogyny plays an important role in sabotaging and stunting women's rights and progress. However, with the spread of the phrase, its meaning has become distorted. I don't know if you ever played telephone as a kid, but it's that game where you're in a circle, you whisper something in the ear of the person next to you and it goes around the circle, and then eventually you find out what the phrase has become. I feel like that's what's happened with the phrase pick me. One would argue, one being me. I am number one at ice skating backwards, and you can't disprove it. Women and girls are now labelled as pick-me even when they're not making fun of other women at all. Now, where is this happening? Well, would you be shocked if I said TikTok? The hashtag #PickMeGirl on TikTok has 3.1 billion views, with many videos parodying or impersonating so-called pick-me girls. As Dr. Christina Riley, professor of critical race theory, gender, and critical race studies at American University explains, the ubiquitous presence of these skits on TV and social media enables everyone to add something to the list of grievances pitted against this figure, to the point where literally anything could qualify someone as a pick-me girl. Ultimately, This trend further perpetuates the sexism it so vehemently strives to decry, broadening the terms for women bashing. And I'm aware that TikTok isn't the whole world, but it is where the kids hang out. And I would argue that younger people misusing the phrase will only pave problems for the future. And now, the initial use of pick me was an earnest attempt to deconstruct internalized misogyny.
I just don't think women should be president. Like, I wouldn't trust me with the nuclear codes. My hormones make me absolutely crazy. I feel more comfortable in the kitchen than in an office. If your man cheats on you, it's probably because you're getting fat. I hardly wear makeup. Makeup is just for girls who are insecure. Objectify me, please, I'm begging. Most women actually like to be cheated on. They're addicted to the drama.
But it has spiraled out of control and become yet another way to police female behavior, achieving the exact opposite of what it originally intended.
Oh, is that a spider? Ew. Oh my god, you're such a pick-me. Because I don't like spiders. Oh, I hate when girls pretend to be scared of spiders. I'll kill it, okay? Most girls wouldn't be able to do that, but I can. Do you know what pick me means? I'm just wondering.
Irony, eh? TikTok has given teen girls and grown women permission to tear each other apart for being too much, too annoying, too attention-seeking, too friendly, too cool.
My best friend Christy is the pinnacle of an unrealized pick-me girl. But basically the concept of an unrealized pick-me girl is a girl who just doesn't even have to try. Like, it doesn't matter what they do, they're just cool.
Then they just aren't pick-me's, Chrissy. I don't know what to tell you. Excessive in whatever way annoys you that day.
I love those people who are like, I'm so small. Don't laugh at me. Stop.
So, what makes you pick me now? Having a name that starts with A and ends with A. Pick me like pick me. Pick me like pick me. God, it's a bit of a tongue twister, but basically the song just says pick me. I know this might seem like a cherry picking example, but this video has 2 million likes. Wearing your skirt a certain way, being openly bisexual, and oh, my favourite, as a slightly below average height girly, being short and daring to be aware of it.
Let's go get our skates. Wait for me, I got little legs.
We should like compare hand sizes. I know, it's like you're holding a baby's hand. Like, try and carry me. Stop, I do not buy my shoes in the kids section. Okay, maybe I do. At least I get a discount. I would literally be swimming in your clothes. I'm just so petite and nimble and thin. Can you help me get something from the top shelf? I can't reach it. Oh my god, you're so much taller than me, what?
A lot of people don't realise that being petite is about your height and not your dress size. Anyone under 5'3" qualifies as petite. Whether you're skinny, fat, curvy, regardless of body type.
I'm so small.
That's right, petite girlies. You're not allowed to be in on the joke about your height. It's only okay for other people to make fun of it. I love how every few years on social media, we rebrand a type of internalized misogyny with a sort of pseudo-feminist twist. This reminds me of that trend on TikTok where women were vanilla shaming the girlfriends of boys who didn't like them back. It was a sight to behold. And this kind of reminds me of that because there's this imagined enemy. I'm not saying that women who, you know, over cutesy themselves.
No, and it's not even that. I just feel like everybody just so taller than me.
We are literally the same height.
And play up their cuteness to the boys don't exist. But to act like this is characteristic of petite women, even to a majority, is just absurd. When someone mentions my height, but I'll be a pick-me if I say anything. I'm so short/small equals pick-me. I'm not that short/small equals pick-me. No one knows what pick me means anymore. Say what you want. When a man says to me, "You're so short, I know my reputation is done," just disintegrate on the spot. Trust me, it works. You're so short. A. Defend yourself. You'll sound like a pick me. B. Insult back. You'll sound like a pick me. C. Agree/smile/laugh. You'll sound like a pick me. D. Say nothing. Safest option. We can't win. #pick me. Do you see the problem here? And I know that me saying this is going to piss off some of the girlies, but listen, let's be honest, most of you are American. What are you going to do? I live across an ocean. Come fight me. Here's the thing, I'm not even that short. I feel like my whole life people have made a massive deal out of my height. They're the ones talking about it, not me. I just want to get on with things. So now when they mention it, I might just change the subject to my massive dong. The number of videos I've seen sharing this sentiment would make you think that the majority of short women fetishize themselves, when actually they just want to be taken seriously and treated as grown adults. And to be clear, I am very conscious of the fact that tall women deal with misogyny and get sort of masculinized in a way.
Also used your platform to talk a lot about the masculinization of tall Black women, tall dark-skinned women.
I face like a lot of criticism from people who have an issue with me expressing my femininity. I used to play sports a lot growing up, so no one had an issue with me being the athlete.
Right.
But the moment I wanted to, start wearing makeup and start looking pretty and start doing something that's out of the norm of what, people that are tall are supposed to do, people started trying to bring me back to that masculine side.
If you're a tall girl and you're insecure about being tall, just remember, Jennifer Lawrence is 5'9", Zendaya, 5'10", Naomi Campbell, 5'10", Blake Lively, 5'10", and Taylor Swift is 5'11", okay? All my life, I was taught that I was ugly because I was tall, but once you get older, you realize just how powerful it is to be tall. So, be proud of yourself, accept yourself, love yourself. As I'm sure you've gathered, this issue requires approaching it with intersectionality. I'm by no means trying to say that my experience as a slightly shorter than average woman is on par with being masculinized as a tall Black woman. Absolutely not. But I went into it in such detail in this video because it seems to be the thing that's associated with pick-me's. And it's something I can speak from my personal experience. Back to the point of intersectionality, when we're thinking about short women, different countries have different average heights. So that's worth thinking about when you make generalizations about short women. Basically, to summarize, if you are average height, don't comment on people's heights. I don't want to hear it. Zip it! Zip it! Shh. I'm in my librarian era. My flatmate's a librarian. She'd be very pleased. Now that I've pissed off a whole genre of TikTok, I want to dissect a new Frankenstein's monster, the anti-pick-me girl. Ooh. In short, the anti-pick-me girl is a girl who shamelessly embraces feminine interests, rather than the mainstream distancing from them that was very popular in noughties teen movies.
She's the anti-pick-me girl.
I love Trader Joe's, iced coffee, and all that weird astrology stuff. Oh yes, my skincare routine is the favorite part of my day. In other words, I'm exactly like the other girls, and proud of it.
She's the anti-pick-me girl.
I think women are the coolest. Not only do I have several consistent female friendships that I have valued greatly throughout the majority of my adult life, but I love watching women in general become more assertive about what they deserve and support one another. Some may call it drama.
She's the anti-pick-me girl.
While I do clean sometimes, I definitely won't be cleaning up after you. And before you ask, no, I can't name 3 songs from the band on my t-shirt.
And you can see where this comes from. This reclamation is a response to the fact that feminine interests have almost always been the butt of the joke. Shopping? Vapid. Boy bands? Cringe. Iced coffee? Basic. Pink?
No, get it away!
As a result, the girlies are fighting back.
I am exactly like the other girls. I love girls, I love women, I love our silly little coffee walks, I love getting ready together before we go out, love a margarita, love a bottomless brunch. I love that we love getting a good pic.
In fact, some even lean in on the ditzy, feminine, basic stereotype. And this is a valiant attempt to fight the relentless denigration of stereotypically feminine interests. Another thing that's fun about all this is that, I will admit, I have a bit of a petty streak. Do I get a kick out of exclaiming to a circle of men in a pub, why don't we just print more money, and seeing how red their faces go? Oh, I live for it. But Whitney Houston, we have a problem. The anti-pick-me girl might do more harm than good. For one, it reinforces the gender binary that certain branches of feminism fight so hard to deconstruct. A girl might not want to wear makeup, not because she's a pick-me, but just for any other reason. Some of it has become so invested in defending feminine interests that they dismiss the possibility of women organically having masculine interests.
Here is my response to being called a pick-me girl. Ever since I've talked about living with all guys, one of the most popular comments I get is, "You're a pick-me girl." I want to share my perspective on that. Pick-me girl to pick-me girl. It's not pick me to have guy friends. It's just not. I also talk about my girl best friend all the time. I'm not claiming to only have guy friends. I get it when a girl is tearing down another girl for a guy. I get how that's pick me, but comments like these are pick me to me. People call Kendall Jenner a pick me for liking basketball. That's not very girls supporting girls. That just feels like we're moving backwards to me. Why can't someone like Kendall Jenner like basketball? Let's start there. Why does everyone think she's lying when she says that? That's just one example. Why am I a pick me for having guy friends?
Don't even get me started on girls who like sports. Like, oh, you like sports? You're gonna sit on this couch and watch an entire football game and enjoy it? No, honey, you just want to impress Chad, Brad, and Thad. Like, pick me, choose me, love me.
Because she could only possibly be doing it for the boys, right? The pick-me girl archetype highlights just how deeply embedded the idea of the gender binary still is in our society. No matter how it's interpreted, the pick-me girl archetype diminishes the personhood of individuals who may possess identities and personalities that are a mixture of the feminine and the masculine, and continues to peg gender expression to biological sex. Remember earlier where I showed that TikTok that mentioned bisexuality? This reminds me of how when girls in school would make out with each other and other women would exclaim, "Oh, they're doing it for the attention of boys." Now, I'm gonna put on my tinfoil hat because I have my own theory about that. Honestly, I think most of them were using it as a cover. I reckon they were just feeling a bit gay. And I can't help but notice that often when girls are accusing other girls of seeking male validation, I can take your man if I want to. I can take your man if I want to. They might be projecting. Methinks the lady doth protest too much. And the jealous gatekeeping of male attention just brings us back to square one. And ironically, it's in a similar vein to the I'm not like other girls trend.
I'm sorry, but girls who drink beer because they like it are pick-me's. Like, nobody likes beer, except for guys. Oh, and girls who like, oh, I'm gonna eat a burger at this restaurant because I'm on a date with a guy and like I need to prove to him that I can, like, you're a pick-me. Pick-me. You're a pick-me.
People like this assume that they know when someone is being inauthentic. They can point it out in other people. And then they pat themselves on the back for their superior authenticity. Casey Alonso makes this point in her Pick Me video. But in short, only you are in your head. You know your own intentions. You're not a mind reader. You don't know why people do the things they do or like the things they like. And it can be comforting to be dismissive of other people and assume that they're being inauthentic as a way to validate your own identity. They're doing it for attention, whereas I genuinely like this thing. When in reality, we don't know what's going on with other people. We all just need to stay in our own lanes, which unfortunately humans are incapable of. Critiques of the term believe that through its definition, women are still centering men in the way they navigate life. Where you fall on the pick-me scale is parallel to the way you interact with the men in your circle. And nothing captures this better than the very video that inspired me to talk about this topic again. And that is the infamous Subway TikTok. Oh boy. Oh girl. We're about to dive into some discourse.
So So what's your take?
My take is that all guys think they want to date the like cool, hot, artsy, baddie girlfriend with like baby bangs and a bad father, but that's actually not the case at all. What all guys in New York want is to date the like candid girlfriend. You can trademark that. Candid girlfriend is a girl who's like 5'5.5", naturally thin, has mousy brown hair no longer than shoulder length. She's like from New Hampshire, maybe studied art history, and I would say the biggest part of her personality is that she like loves pomegranate, and her boyfriend thinks that's like so quirky and adorable.
100% agree.
She's never the like overt center of attention, but her boyfriend is always posting film photos of her, hashtag 35mm, on his Instagram story, and she's always just kind of like... The candid girl is the patient zero of the pick-me girl. She's not even trying to be pick-me, she just authentically has nothing going on in her brain. Pick-me girl is a girl who pretends to be interesting and unique to get attention. This girl just has nothing going on in her brain. She like likes good pottery.
And so all guys want that?
All guys want that because they can make a muse out of her. Also, this girl is always referred to as this one in the caption of the photo. Happy birthday to this one. And it's always like a photo of the back of her head. They're like in Tokyo on vacation in the spring. Do you know what I'm talking about? They like both love Japanese culture, but they're both white. I've really only seen her on like the third slide of like an IG photo dump on her boyfriend's Instagram. I would love to meet one of them. I'm a girl's girl. I want to see you up close. I want to touch your skin. Her name's Emily.
Forgive me, my chronically online is about to show. And don't tell me to touch grass because I have hay fever and that's grievous bodily harm. So yeah. But yeah, I feel like I could make a whole video on the subway TikTok situation. This situation is a cocktail of discourse. It has pick-me discourse, girls girl discourse, comedy discourse, discourse about what comments you're shown and how it distorts your perception of internet beef, and so much more. But I want to focus in on the pick-me aspect. Most importantly, she doesn't even define pick-me correctly.
She's not even trying to be pick-me, she just authentically has nothing going on in her brain. Pick-me girl is a girl who pretends to be interesting and unique to get attention. This girl just has nothing going on in her brain.
What she's describing is a manic pixie dream girl. But it doesn't just end there, no, no, no. This video was polarizing. You either got it or you didn't get it. And I'll be honest, when I first saw it, I didn't get it. I didn't find it funny. I still don't find it very funny, to be honest. I suspected, like many, that she was projecting about a real girl she'd met. She since clarified that she wasn't. And I'll take her word for it. It did resonate with some people though. This is literally Alex Turner's type. Literally Suki Waterhouse. I love her, but tell me she doesn't fit all the boxes. Mousy brown hair no longer than shoulder length is so real. Whereas others did not like it. She definitely lost someone to a candid girlfriend. This rubs me the wrong way. She isn't wrong, but it's wild to punctuate this with I'm a girl's girl. Ma'am, this is way too specific to not be projecting. I'm a girl's girl after she said all of that is wild. The has nothing in her brain and I'm a girl's girl. Seething jealousy. The gag is that by explaining to a man how you're better than another type of woman and labeling her a pick-me, you are in fact engaging in your own beautiful and unique pick-me behavior. Like a pick-me snowflake. The most misogynistic description of a woman. But I'm a girl's girl. I don't know her, maybe she's very nice, but this is a tough look for anyone. Yeah, it's a lot. And I'll be honest, when I first saw this, I landed on the latter side, you know, thinking, this seems a bit mean, calling out a girl's intelligence. But after having some distance and introspection, I've changed my mind. Here's why.
I have been taking the day to sift through all your comments, and God, I mean, the love and support is so big, it's almost invisible. You know, when something so massive is actually naked to the human eye. I just want to clarify for anyone who thinks I am anti-women, i.e. misogynistic, like, oh my God, nobody loves women more than me. Ask any of my guy friends, they'll tell you. I literally spent the whole day researching my favorite women of all time. Truly obsessed with everything she has done.
I love how she just decided to troll more. So, listen, I didn't find the video particularly funny, but her response has made me a fan and has reminded me about how uncharitable we are when women are making jokes. Notice how if a male feminist comedian wants to make a misogynistic joke, most of the time we are able to accept that he's being ironic and laugh about it. Whereas women cannot make jokes about other women without them being accused of internalized misogyny, being pick-me's, not like other girls. And I'm not saying there isn't any of that going on here, but people, when all the way there, rather than stopping for a moment and just thinking, this joke just isn't hitting for me.
I'm a working, touring stand-up comedian. Wrote a joke for Subway Takes that I thought was like surface level, nothing, kind of like easy, relatable joke about the like cognitive dissonance between what men think they want and what they actually want, and also making fun of girls, like me being the character of a girl, for being jealous of a girl who couldn't possibly exist. Emily doesn't exist. Nobody doesn't have thoughts in their brain, which, by the way, would be awesome. Live, laugh, lobotomy, my girls. Joke didn't land for some people. That's fine. I think we need to separate a joke not landing from someone being a misogynist. Plenty of people, guys especially, have gone on Kareem's show and said like way more like controversial things for the purposes of humor. You know, one guy went on and he was like, you should beat your kids. Did not spark discourse. And it shouldn't, because it was a joke. Then I go on, make up this like character and just kind of like yap for a few minutes. One take, you know, I'm not in charge of the edit. And everyone's so mad. And maybe, just maybe, is it because I'm a girl online and famously, historically, we love to shit on those. We just love to hop on that bandwagon. The point being, maybe we shouldn't assume the worst of everything and everyone we see online.
And I have experienced this personally. A few years back, I made a commentary video about the School of Affluence, which is a channel that gives basically femininity tutorials, how to gender content, as I like to call it. And listen, I was not prepared for how mad people were gonna get. And this isn't me whining like, people didn't find it funny, but I did think it was interesting that something with pretty light-hearted jokes was received as being a pick-me. I intended that video to just be a silly roast, but some people really thought I was being a pick-me and assumed personal malice towards this person. But yeah, I do think it's just something that women have to be more mindful of when they're making jokes, that it can be perceived as bitchy. I definitely feel like the lack of charitability has been the case for the Subway lady.
So 2 questions to anyone who's like horny for discourse right now on this whole thing. The first being like, why are we so hell-bent on defending like a made-up girl, Emily, who couldn't exist? That was the point. And so comfortable putting down like a real girl.
You know, she wasn't talking about a real woman, or at least she didn't name drop anyone. She was talking about the dissonance between what men say they want versus what they actually want. Notably, in one study published in 2015, researchers found that men were more likely to declare their attraction to women who had outperformed them in an intelligence test. But when men actually met women who had outperformed them, they distanced themselves more from her, tended to rate her as less attractive, and showed less desire to exchange contact information or plan a date with her. Perhaps her delivery was clumsy, but people love to be outraged, so it became discourse. And I thought this was a handy case study in showing how the comments we read can influence our opinion and trigger a reaction, and trigger this reflexive outrage, when instead, if we took the time and were measured, we wouldn't respond how we do. And that was me in this situation. I think the Subway TikTok lady was done dirty. And something I love about this job, but also scares me, is that I can make a full video with a take, or thesis if you want to sound more academic. Then a few months later, I come across more information and I can change my mind. Like this very video you're watching. As culture shifts, so do our opinions. And that's good. Another example of this is the girls girl discourse that was also sparked by this Subway TikTok, which she actually references in her response.
So I want to stand by and say with confidence that I am a girl's girl. And for anyone wondering what even is a girl's girl, I'll tell you by naming a few of the best damn ones in history. Margaret Thatcher,
That girl who told me I looked good in pigtails in my yearbook photo in 4th grade so that I would have a bad photo next to her.
While her comments, which she later clarified were jokes, do highlight that she suffers from some internalized misogyny, those who claim to be true girls didn't think to address her with kindness or to empathically explain to her that she's subconsciously projecting sexist ideas onto other women, something all women sometimes find themselves doing under patriarchy. Instead, girl feminism has emboldened women to bully and ridicule one another when those within our gender slip up and make mistakes. It hasn't even been a year since my girl video, and I've already seen so many points that I just didn't think of when researching and writing it. When Dazed shared this article on Instagram, the writer was called a pick-me in the comments, and it all felt so cyclical, so tiring. As expressed by the writer of this article and young women online, for many, a girl's girl is a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's white feminism. Now, in fairness, one could respond saying, isn't it just feminism practiced imperfectly? Let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater. And I would agree. However, if someone is wary of phrases like not a girl's girl or pick me girl, rather than accusing them of being guilty of said charge, perhaps dig in deeper into why these labels make them wary. TikTok's greatest trick is its ability to rebrand things that have always existed. A walk around the block is now a hot girl walk. A person who hits the gym before work and takes vitamins is now that girl. Setting boundaries is now the villain era. A turn-off is now the ick. A founding member of this family of internet age definitions is a pick-me girl, which is really just a rebranding of the not like other girls trope. I disagree with the last sentence, I really do. A pick-me girl and a not like other girls girl are two distinct things. But this person is onto something. TikTok loves lingo. They love it so much that they'll even misuse it. And even journalists misattribute it to TikTok. Take that SNL sketch about Gen Z talk.
So, Bestie's gonna be okay, right?
I'm sorry, but at this particular time, that's looking like a cap.
Bro, can we see her?
Unfortunately, not right now, bro. You know the vibes. But I promise if
They were talking about AAVE. So why does this matter? Well, remember at the beginning of the video where I mentioned Pick Me's origins on Black Twitter and in AAVE/BVE? Well, firstly, let's be clear. I'm not an authority on this, obviously. There are already some great videos on this, such as T Noir's video where she highlights the double standard between when white people use AAVE versus when black people use it. White people can use it without their intelligence being called into question. It's like a fun, quirky little thing, right? And the sad thing is that BVE gets co-opted and used against the very people who invented it. So an example of this is the term woke, which originally meant an awareness of social issues, like racism. But now you see conservatives using it to be racist. So black person in a Disney movie, woke. Black person in a Sainsbury's commercial, woke. Yeah. Terms that originate in black communities, like cancel and woke, are often stripped of their original, more nuanced meanings among black people. And that's exactly what's happened with the phrase pick me. Pick me, once upon a time, was a tool to point out internalized misogyny. And I imagine it must be very frustrating to see the term be bastardized and used to do more misogyny. I mean, and if you are using it correctly, you might get called a misogynist. So yeah, I completely get where this writer is coming from. Some people like to dismiss language appropriation because it's more insidious than, people wearing Native American headdresses at Coachella or the Kardashians. Visual appropriation is a lot more shocking, right? Whereas this is a lot more subtle. But I would say that makes it all the more insidious and therefore ubiquitous. And before people comment strawmanning black journalists who have talked about this, the people I've referenced aren't saying that no white person is ever allowed to say woke or pick me. They're just kindly asking you to use it accurately and credit it properly. properly. You know, just show it respect. Don't use BVE for the purpose of parody, not for the purpose of reinforcing marginalization. And for anyone thinking that this is still trivial, Trayvon Martin, a 17-year-old African-American teenager, was fatally shot in 2012. When the case was brought to court, George Zimmerman, the man who shot Trayvon Martin, claimed that it was self-defense. Trayvon's friend, Rachel Gentile, was on the phone with him before and during the affair and was a key individual for the prosecution due to her testimony. Yet, John R. Rickford, a Stanford linguist professor, argued that Rachel's use of AAVE meant that she was misunderstood and invalidated by the jury. Rachel was also put through public commentary that bashed her use of AAVE. Professor Rickford reasoned that this meant Rachel's testimony was not taken fully into consideration. This is just one example out of the potential thousands and millions of instances this happens, and the consequences it may have. So you can see here how this dismissal of AAVE and lack of willingness to understand it and to take it seriously can be so detrimental and just reinforce white supremacy. For actual change to happen, it can start with the simplest acknowledgement, like recognizing that the phrase you use in your group chat is not just a funny word, part of a vibrant culture, a culture that deserves your respect. All that pick-me shaming, and guess what? Pick-me's are still knocking about. What was it all for? There are still pick-me's, there's still internalized misogyny, so what now? All the articles I read criticizing the term pick-me encouraged, education and compassion over contempt and call-outs. And listen, all of this sounds very nice in theory, but I have a question for these writers. Have you been on the internet? Imagine coming across a pick-me and being like, Clarissa, sit down, it's time for a lesson. Putting aside my cynicism, I do agree that empathy is more productive than ridicule, which is why I would reserve the term pick-me for women who knowingly and gleefully put down other women, and more importantly, have actual power and platforms, not teen girls on TikTok.
Sometimes the best way to cure a pick-me girl is by forcing her to be around a much worse, more extreme pick-me girl. When I was a little teenager, like 15 years ago, I was a mild pick-me girl. I didn't make it other people's problem, but I would think things internally or consume that kind of dumb Tumblr content that was like, I don't wear makeup, I'm so special. And I had this friend who was kind of like that too, but she started bringing around this friend who was the worst example of a pick-me girl I have ever experienced. She was really into this guy that was a few years older than us, and when he got a girlfriend, she basically went full-blown pick-me insane. She would call her cake face, make fun of the fact that she wore dresses, made fun of the music she listened to, said things like, oh, I didn't realize that he was into such shallow, vapid girls. Not just venting to her close friends or family, she would just randomly bring this up around anyone. And I was so embarrassed seeing some of the mild thoughts that I had expressed in a very extreme and public way that it forced me to self-reflect and do an immediate 180. Because self-reflection is hard as a kid, and sometimes even as an adult, but seeing what that mindset that I had could potentially turn me into literally scared me into changing myself.
To quote the TikTok user, Bastard of Bolton, a pick-me suffers from internalized misogyny, not the crime of being annoying. You're allowed to find people annoying and to just not vibe with someone. You don't have to pathologize why they rub you the wrong way. Maybe she isn't a pick-me. Maybe she's just annoying. And listen, an individual can't solve all the issues that create pick-me's in the first place. The desire for male approval stems from many things. The desire to be loved, patriarchy, trauma, just to name a few. All you can do is control your own language and your own actions. My overarching advice after all this would be to be suspicious of any trend that blames women for sexism. Before you invest a large amount of energy calling out internalized misogyny, ask yourself if you channel that same energy towards sexism you see from men. Now, if you do, I don't know where you're getting all that energy from. I understand the tendency to want to hold women to a higher standard because they should know better, but I wonder If thinking that way is stunting feminist progress, perhaps we need to remind ourselves that no one is born a feminist, regardless of gender. And last, but definitely not least, stop assuming you know what's going on in people's heads. You don't know their story. You don't know why they do what they do. So ask questions before calling them names. Maybe that girl who you think wears the flashy blue football jersey to fit in with the guys actually dons it as a reminder of her father, who lives hundreds of miles away and sees her only once a year. Maybe that girl who wears bright red lipstick every time you see her does so as a token of her late mother, who loved red roses. Thank you so much for watching this video. It ended up being a lot longer than I expected, so thank you for sticking through it. Thank you so much to my patrons for donating to the channel and helping with the cost. Now it's time for today's subscription Pet Shoutout. Today's shout out is Ludo, who is a poodle who is 8 years old. He loves his ball and sleeping on the sofa. He's also very clever, as poodles are. Well, some. And always remember where you've hidden his ball. He's very fluffy, he's very handsome. I've met him personally because he is my friend's dog, who also happens to be one of my oldest subscriptions. She was there from day one. Also, I just have to show you this video of him being terrified of my tiny Italian greyhound.